Hello, I'm Sheri Traxler with ViREO Life, and I am passionate about today's show, a recipe for distress. We're going to talk about foods that help you manage stress, how to put those together in a few recipes, and also how to make cooking a little bit easier when you're already tired and feeling overwhelmed and busy. Whenever I see friends and clients and family get into stressful seasons, often that's when their sleep, their exercise, using those mental and emotional strategies, as well as their nourishment, goes out the window. And that's when our bodies need us to nourish ourselves and take care of ourselves the most. Why? So that we can function best during the stress, but also come out of it strong and healthy. Doing all that we can means that we are nourishing ourselves, we're using those mental and emotional strategies, we're sleeping well, and we're exercising. During stressful times in my life, my weakness has been not using enough of those mind and emotion things that help. If your struggle during stress is not nourishing yourself, we've got some tips today to help you think out of the box, not eat out of the box, or at least rely on eating out of the box. You don't see me do this, do you? This is funny. Laugh. Laughter's good for stress. Even my videographer is laughing. Good. All right. So let's move on and talk about carbohydrates. You have some goals whenever you are wanting to manage your stress through nourishment. And it's important to manage your stress through nourishment and all those other ways, because stress it's damaging to your body. It increases your risk of so many diseases, cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure. I'm going to read a couple of stats out of the book I wrote, Go Forward, 28 Days to Eat, Move, and Enjoy Life God's Way. These are from the American Institute of Stress. Stress is a major factor in most lifestyle diseases. According to the American Institute of Stress, 77% of people regularly suffer physical problems caused by stress. Stress costs American industry more than $300 billion annually through healthcare and missed work. We all go through stressful seasons. Sometimes we go through stressful years, but we need to do what we can. The carbohydrate I was talking about earlier increases your serotonin, and that's one of your goals when you're managing stress through nourishment. Your first goal is manage your hormones. Your second goal is to keep your blood sugar steady. And your third goal is to improve or increase the strength of your immune system. When we're stressed and we're wanting to increase that serotonin, carbohydrate's what we're looking for. That's what boosts that serotonin level. It's why we crave carbohydrate whenever we're stressed out. It calms us, and carbohydrate is what does that. But the problem is when we focus on processed carbohydrates instead of complex carbohydrates, it boosts your blood sugar too quickly and you end up with an energy crash later. It also weakens your immune system, which is the opposite of what you're wanting to do. So instead of those processed carbs, think complex carbohydrate. Rice and beans, oatmeal, sweet potatoes. Yes, this is a sweet potato. It came out of my garden. I've already gone through all the normal size ones, so this is one of the big ones. You're just going to have to play along with that. You also want to have plenty of vitamin C. Vitamin C is important because it is important for your adrenal glands. Let me read you out of this old textbook, Understanding Nutrition by Whitney and Hamilton. The adrenal glands contain a higher concentration of vitamin C than any other organ in the body. During emotional or physical stress, they release large quantities of the vitamin together with the hormones epinephrine and norepinephrine. Those are some of your stress hormones. But you don't have to just rely on your grapefruits and your oranges that you think of. Obviously berries, cantaloupe, pineapple, other fruits like that. But even broccoli, steamed or raw, keeps a good level of vitamin C. Bell peppers as well keep a good amount of vitamin C. Thinking about blood sugar, one of those other goals. In addition to complex carbohydrates that digest slowly, you also want to think about proteins in fish, in beef, in chicken. And the fish, especially salmon and tuna, gives you a double play because the omega-3 fatty acids in there also help to regulate your stress hormones. One of the hot topic spices right now is turmeric that you can find in curry. This has a property in it that covers several of our goals. It increases your serotonin, it decreases your stress hormones, as well as boosts your immune system. If you're thinking about energy with your stress management, you don't just want to think about carbohydrates and protein. There's actually nutrients you don't want to get deficient in. Magnesium is one of those. If you're deficient in magnesium, that causes fatigue. Magnesium is great in spinach. It's also found in high levels in kale. In nuts and seeds, you've got good levels of magnesium. Also, black-eyed peas and garbanzo beans are two of the beans that are very high in magnesium. Calcium is another nutrient you want to make sure you have plenty of when you're dealing with stress. I thought calcium was for bones. It is, but it also helps your nerves to talk to each other. It helps the messages get inside your cells. Obviously, yogurt, other dairy products is important for that. But remember those leafy greens you're eating for magnesium? They're great in calcium too. And the broccoli that you're eating for vitamin C, also high in calcium. And last, we cannot forget everyone's favorite way to manage their stress. Chocolate has actually been shown to manage your stress hormones. A bite or two a day is great. A bar or two, not so much. That would cause some other issues, but a bite or two is great. We're going to take a moment now and put some of these together in recipes and menus to give you some ideas of how to de-stress deliciously during stress in your life. We're going to go through some of the amazing, de-stressing, delicious menu options now. It's just some ideas to get you started. Breakfast in bed on a breakfast tray. Great way to de-stress. Our oatmeal for that slow digesting carbohydrate that we talked about. Adding some protein powder in there for our protein source. I like Garden of Life's Gotein powder for that. If you don't like protein powder, just have a couple of eggs made however you like. In there also we've got our blueberries for vitamin C. We've also got different walnuts and seeds for the good fat. And of course, if you want to start out with a little bit of chocolate at the beginning of the day, add some cacao nibs in there. Half of an orange for some vitamin C and some hot tea. Moving on to a lunch item now, we're going to look at some kale chips for our vegetable. We're looking at some salmon salad, the salmon that we talked about, on whole grain bread and spinach instead of lettuce to add a little extra vitamin kick. One of my favorite snacks, yogurt, but this is not just any yogurt. This is Greek yogurt with added cinnamon in it, and if you use fat-free, you want to do some nut butter in there. If you're using full-fat dairy, no need to add the extra nut butter for the fat in there. And then some berries for your vitamin C on that. Dinner time. What are some ideas for dinner? Let's go ahead and look at one option. This is one of my favorites of a marinade is beef. Now this is a little larger beef serving than what I would normally have, but it's the cut the butcher gave, so it works for us now. The marinade on this is a lot of mashed blackberries for the vitamin C, as well as some type of hoisin sauce and a little bit of lemon or lime juice, all mixed together, marinated for a couple of hours and then cooked. Sweet potato for the slow digesting carb that we mentioned. Broccoli for your, you've probably memorized this by now, vitamin C and calcium. And a side salad to add some extra nutrients there too. But we can't forget your favorite way to de-stress, some dark chocolate for dessert. Another dinner option is going to be slow digesting carbohydrate rice, which is the base for this, as well as some garbanzo beans that we've mentioned. some onion for that immune system boost, chicken for the added protein, and around the outside, greens, kale, spinach, whichever, so that you can get your vitamin C and magnesium and calcium we've talked about. Also for your vitamin C boost, fresh fruit for dessert. You might be thinking, wow, this looks great, but I don't have the time or the energy to make all of this. We're going to go back to the kitchen now and give you some tips on how to make cooking while you're de-stressing a little bit easier for you. See you in the kitchen. Well, we're back in the kitchen now, and we're going to talk a little bit about making cooking easier when you're feeling stressed. The first piece is mindset. Understanding that the time and the energy that you invest tonight preparing dinner, packing your lunch for the next day, actually decreases your stress load. When you focus on those processed foods instead, you rely on those, you're actually increasing your stress the next day. The second thing is, a lot of this can be prepared early by you or a friend or a family or at the deli. You don't have to chop everything yourself. Rice, potatoes, those can be cooked and kept for several days in large batches. If you enjoy chopping, which is actually going to be our next tip, if you enjoy chopping, go ahead and chop all your fruits yourself. If you're like me and chopping pineapple is a little daunting, I buy mine already chopped. Salmon salad, tuna salad, those can keep for about 3 days, so you can make up several days worth at a time there. Also, you don't have to prepare all your veggies from scratch. Frozen veggies are great. Most of them are actually flash frozen on site, so they keep all their nutrients. In fact, middle of the winter, there's been a lot of studies that have shown fresh vegetables that have been shipped in from far away and have been picked when they're not actually ready to be picked lose a lot of their nutrients, and frozen on site is actually healthier for you. Meats, don't just marinate for that night. Go ahead and marinate that night, the next nights. Go ahead and cook 2 nights or 3 nights in a row. It's going to keep in your fridge and cut down on how often you have to cook, and that means also cutting down on how often you have to clean the kitchen. If you do enjoy chopping, which a lot of people do, they find that relaxing to maybe not chop a mound of vegetables, but to chop up the parsley that's going to go on top of their meal, or to chop up 1 or 2 pieces of fruit. That's relaxing for them. For me, I like to sip a cup of hot tea whenever I'm cooking. That's relaxing for me. For some individuals, just having a meal prepared is restful, because if everything else was chaotic and didn't get done during the day, at least one thing got finished. And even the chopping can be repetitive and keep the chaos in their mind away because they're focused on a very simple action. Really, the key is thinking about what nourishes you and what relaxes you, and incorporating that into making the cooking a relaxing process for yourself. Hopefully this gave you some ideas on how to de-stress deliciously. If you know somebody who's stressed right now, please share this episode with them. And be sure to subscribe so that you can be the first to receive all of our new weekly videos. Thank you so much for watching ViREO Life, and until next time, find your path and fulfill your potential.